Selfless service is actually quite selfish because you feel so damn good when you give without the law of reciprocity top of mind. And so I always urge those who are feeling a little bit stressed or full of anxiety or overwhelm or so in their little world right now.
Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast, a space dedicated to spreading the message that you have the power within to create everything you seek.
So if you're ready to enroll in a new kind of higher learning, the kind that leads to true personal freedom, then hang here with us.
We're your hosts, Rudi and Aniston Riekstins, and this is the Empowered Life. Welcome to the Empowered Life Podcast. My name is Rudi Riekstins, and today I'm joined by the incredible Cary Jack, a lifestyle entrepreneur, USA Today best-selling author, and the founder of The Happy Hustle. It is a movement and a top 1% globally ranked podcast built around one core mission, that is to help people create blissful balance while pursuing a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. Cary's path blends high performance with real life. He grew up splitting his time between the surf cultures of Sarasota, Florida, and the rugged outdoors of Red Lodge, Montana, which has largely shaped his worldview around freedom, adventure, and a values-led living life. He is a big advocate for living consciously, bringing together entrepreneurs, wellness, and service in a way that keeps success from costing you your soul. Every now and again, you have the honor and the privilege of meeting somebody who feels more like a remembrance than a new friendship. And I was introduced to Cary through a beautiful human being, Amberly Lago. I was on a call with her, which is one of our catch-up calls, and she says to me, do you know Cary? And I was like, no, not yet. And she's like, well, let me tell you about Cary. And a good 30, 40 minutes later, she then turned the conversation back over to me. And at that point, I laughed and I said, oh my God, Amberly, I'm in love with this guy already. Like, what a great human being. Cary, it is an honor and a privilege to have you on the show, brother. Thank you so much for joining us on the Empowered Life Podcast today.
Oh man, what an intro. Thank you, brother. I am honored to be here. Big shout out to Amberly Lago, beautiful soul of a human. And yeah, we, as she said, are brothers from another mother. So I knew very quickly, I was like, oh, this guy gets it. He's a happy hustler through and through. And we just bonded really, really fast. And yeah, appreciate you, man, for having me.
Dude, I said this off camera, and I genuinely just love who you are and how you show up out into the world. You are profoundly successful. You have figured out the secret sauce to life. We're going to talk about happy hustle throughout the entire episode today. You're married. You've got a toddler at home. You've got another one on the way. Your life is picture perfect. I mean, literally picture perfect when you look at where you live, the quality of life that you live in. For context for our audience, I was talking to him a couple of weeks back, and he says to me, man, I don't work a lot, but when I work hard. And it just really speaks into who he is and the life that he's been able to create, which is the point of today's entire episode. But I want to go back before we talk about who you are today, because I only met you as the man that you are now. Majority of my audience are going to meet you where you are right now. But as with every audience member listening, there's been a journey, there's been a story. And so I want to bring our audience forward a little bit. At one point in time, for you to be qualified today to speak into being a happy hustler, and meaning you can create success, but you can also do it whilst being happy. You at one point in time, no doubt, had to be out of balance. You had to be doing the daily grind. I know a little bit about your story. I know that you and your brother were in business together. You were in tech. You had just landed the big deal where you finally got a 7-figure venture capital deal that was going to set you guys up. And ultimately, you walked away from that and you ended up closing the business. I know that for anybody who researches you, listens to other podcast episodes of you, goes to your show, they can learn about your story. What I want to do is dive in a little bit deeper. You are quite famously known for having had a hard conversation with your brother that ultimately ended in turning down the deal, closing your business, and you going off to Thailand so that you could really find yourself. I'm curious if you could start there for us today, because we can hear that you were very successful. You finally had your ticket, to get you to where you were going. And then you ended up having this conversation where you walked away. I want to bridge that a little bit. What was it like for you in that moment to realize you've worked really hard for years to build something? You were finally now getting to where you were going. You felt out of integrity, but now you had to come to terms with that before you even had this conversation with your brother and ultimately closed the doors. What was it like for you to face that inner, I would imagine, dichotomy of like, oh my God, I want this, but I really feel pulled to this? Speak us through what it took for you to really come to terms with that, and then obviously to go in and have this conversation before you disappeared to Thailand.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, man. The backstory, and let me just say, everyone's got their shit. Picture perfect. I know you mentioned that, but I got plenty of stuff going on. Everyone does. I just wanted to mention, I don't claim to be the guru here, just the reporter of here's some things that are working for me. Take what works, leave what doesn't. That's my mentality in this online game, is just to share what I'm doing and hopefully benefit the audience and the people out there watching and listening. So with that being said, to kind of double click on that moment in time, man, I was just so unhappy. I was working like a dog, 100+ hour weeks, grinding so much for profit and success and ego and status and power and all the things that society deems important, right? And I realized when I had a lot of those things manifesting that I was very unfulfilled, very unhappy, and I sacrificed everything to get there. And so that moment came to a head when I had this stack of papers in front of me at this coffee-stained little crappy table in our shitbox apartment in Queens, New York. And I'm not a city guy. So this being just in New York alone for this, largely, just a little pro tip, environment largely dictates happiness. So if you're not happy right now, check your environment. And if it's not conducive for where you want to be in your life in terms of joy, then you need to move. So I needed to figure out what was going on. I knew the business was just suffocating me. I knew the city was suffocating me. I knew sleeping next to my bed, my brother in a king size bed was suffocating me because the guy snores like a train. So I was like, damn, all this stuff is not what I want to do for the next 5 years. And taking that much money under, as a seed round of capital to fund our algorithm that we built as this tech startup, came with a lot of clauses, rightfully so. And we also had these partnerships with Microsoft and IBM lined up. And there was a lot of pressure even before we were really in the thick of it. And I was like, man, this ain't it. I just told my brother, this ain't it. I cannot do it. I'm gonna have even more of a nervous breakdown or burnouts, epidemic than I'm having right now. And he felt similarly, but neither of us could really voice it. So we just had that hard conversation with tears in our eyes, and we ripped up the paperwork. We let the investors know. We let the partners know. We let our clients know. We really just closed up shop. And I moved to Bangkok, Thailand to figure out a better way to work and live in alignment, to find, a way to have my cake and eat it too, as they say, a way to put the happy in my own hustle. And so that's kind of what transpired from there.
So I would love to know, because I'm always thinking when someone answers a question, how is the audience, perceiving what you're putting down, and then what would they want to know that's deeper inside of that? And so we hear stories so often. I mean, almost every real comeback movie, around this topic is about somebody who's doing something and then they feel unfulfilled, and not everybody needs to move to Thailand for 10 months. Not everybody needs to quit what they're doing. So I would love for you to speak into a little bit about what were some of the emotions that were coming up in you that helped you realize that this was not for you? And how could somebody navigate that transition in their life right now? Meaning they identify that, wow, you know what, I'm 100% like Cary. I'm living in a city where I feel out of integrity. I'm in a job that doesn't feel like it's fulfilling. You used words like, I was going to have a worse of a breakdown, not I'm going to eventually have one, meaning I'm already having them. I'm having these these anxiety or panic attacks. And so, how could you support somebody in also being able to identify if maybe something in their life is out of integrity, but it's not necessarily change everything? Because I don't think the answer is for everybody to, essentially close their doors and move. And so through your experience, and I don't only place your experience in what you've lived, but today you help people do this at an exceptionally high level. I mean, you've got massive 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs that come to you every single week. They're inside your community because they're feeling that. And your advice to them all is not, hey, change everything. And so how do we identify which one of these two people are we? And then what paths would you recommend for each?
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic because I literally had like 3 of those questions yesterday from 3 separate entrepreneurs who are at a crossroads. One was a corporate high performer, and 2 were entrepreneurs. And my answer is this: are you in or out of alignment? And for me, that's what I realized was this wasn't God's plan for me. I was out of alignment. And I look to a higher power, and I don't care what anyone believes, one religion or another. I just believe you have to have faith in something bigger than yourself. And intuitively, like in your heart, in your gut, if you're in or out of alignment, if you're doing something that is actually infusing, and I'm going to say some cliche buzzwords here, but passion, which is, again, let me define terms, that inward calling on your heartstrings, like, does it actually fuel you what you're doing? Do you feel passionate about it? Or does it piss you off? Because that's also a form of passion, right? And then purpose. Does it actually have an outward serving mission that you agree with and align with? Do the people that you serve, do they fill your cup, right? Because at some point in my entrepreneurial journey, I had multiple businesses that weren't interfacing with people that I wanted to work with. And so that was a drain on my overall, happiness meter, right? And then also I look at positive impact. Like, am I having a positive impact? Like, am I exploiting people or the earth's resources or, myself in a net negative way, right? And if I am out of alignment in any of those 3, passion, purpose, or positive impact, then a shift is required, right? I look to people who are in this situation right now with a ton of empathy. And it's hard. Like, it's fucking real hard. Like, I feel for you out there right now. If you're listening and watching this and you're like, damn, this kind of lands for me, like, I feel for you, brother or sister, who's ever out there. I really do, because it's like you have to have safety, security. If you have responsibility of family, if you need to pay your bills, health insurance, like, I get it. I get that. And then you also have these dreams, these hopes, these aspirations, this stuff you want to do, this impact you want to leave, the legacy that you desire, right? And it's this tug of war, this internal battle. Again, I go back to the more disease that I was infected by, right? More money, more fame, more power, more followers, more toys, more love, more likes, more stuff, right? And more is the myth, Rudi, but meaning is the shift. And I realized, wow, I was just chasing more. And meaning was really what I was seeking. And so if you're out there right now, I would ask you to do an audit of your current reality. Like, do you wake up stoked? Like, I woke up, told Rudi my dog took a big crap downstairs. I stepped in it with my boot that I just had ankle surgery, but I'm still pumped up about the day because I get to talk to Rudi and a bunch of other awesome people today. And I got a really cool day lined up. And most of my days are pretty awesome, but I intentionally built that, right? And it's like, if you're not super stoked about your day, that's a reality check, right? And it's scary AF to quit something safe. But I'll tell you, in our community, we talk about the 3 freedoms: creative, time, and financial freedom. Creative, time, and financial freedom are the holy grail of what we are after. I know what you're after, Rudi, what I'm after, what we're aligned on. And you can only achieve those three freedoms, in my opinion, by being an entrepreneur. That's the truth. I don't know another way to do it unless you're a trust fund baby. Maybe that's it, but like, if you want those three freedoms, then that's the path. You got to build your parachute right now. I don't recommend quitting cold turkey if you're right now in a position that you're not super pumped about. I do recommend building your parachute for a softer landing, getting yourself to start to serve clients, create a product or service that actually is in alignment with your true calling. And then from there, you can wait until your side hustle income, somewhat supersedes your current income or get us to a place where you're not going to have a massive lifestyle crisis, right? Because no one who quits cold turkey and then has to go sell their side hustle is selling from a place of love. They're selling from a place of fear. They have that commission breath, we call it. It's just like, this person, you could just tell. That's not the energy you want to create your happy hustle from. So that's my long-winded answer to say, build your parachute, my people out there, and don't settle for sacrificing your soul.
Hey, it's Aniston Riekstins here, and I want to ask you, have you ever wondered if there's more to your life and work than what you're doing right now? What if I told you that the universe is hiring and you were born to fill a role that will bring you true purpose and success? In my new #1 best-selling book, The Universe is Hiring, Discover the Role You Were Born to Fill, I'm going to show you exactly how to step into that role. This isn't just a book full of inspiration. It's a roadmap to help you start shifting into a more fulfilling life right now. You'll get clear on your unique purpose, learn how to align with your strengths, and take actionable steps towards the career and life that truly light you up. If you're ready to make a change and start living the life you were meant for, grab your copy today. Available anywhere you buy your books online or click the link in the show notes.
I want to give a little more context to the audience because I was laughing when you started and I had said that you seem to have it all figured out. And then you started saying, no, I'm just the reporter here. I have my own shit. And then you said, I do. I have it, in my life. And for context, we're about to hit record and he says to me, oh my gosh, man, I've, had ankle surgery. I've got this booty on and I walked downstairs and I didn't see the dog had pooped and then I stepped in it. And so now I'm sitting in a podcast recording and I've got the smell under my foot. So I was laughing because you said, I've got shit in my life. And I'm like, yeah, right under your desk. And I love how you just keep everything very, very, very real and relatable to anyone and everyone. I want to go back for a second because, you were speaking about building your parachute. And I had read a research study that people that burn bridges and they burn the boats and they do these dramatic shifts are actually significantly less successful than people that build the parachute while they prepare, So keep that in mind. And I still think that, not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but we are talking about people who are wanting to create a life of freedom and a life of fulfillment. And if somebody else manages your time and somebody else manages your money, then, by all means, there's going to be restrictions and or limitations as long as you feel the freedom within them. I want to talk a little bit about what you've managed to create. And I would argue that you have built a framework around this, just knowing you and knowing your mind. And so I would like to know a little bit more about the happy hustle mentality that you've created. Like what non-negotiables does somebody need to have, or what must be true in someone's life in order for them to genuinely live a happy hustling life? And if you could, for our audience, kind of define what is a happy hustle in your terms.
Yeah. So the definition of the happy hustle is the systematic harmonization of ambition and well-being, right? So the systematic harmonization of both ambition and well-being. That means crushing it personally and professionally. So increasing your income and your impact, yes, that's important. That's the ambition part. We want to do that as happy hustlers. Don't make no mistake, hustle is in the happy. Like that, they're both there for this to work. But the well-being piece is pivotal. And I think it's oh so lacking right now, especially for high performers out there. And that means being an amazing husband, father, man of God, community servant, holistically happy human, right? Just being someone who, and you could obviously echo the same sentiment for being an amazing wife or mother, daughter, community servant, holistically happy woman. This is what it's all about, in my opinion. You and I, Rudi, we've interfaced with a ton of high performers, millionaires, billionaires, people who seem like they got it all figured out, right? I was a part of a lot of these mastermind communities that were run by these people and just were full of these people. And what I realized is I looked around the room at one specific mastermind and I was like, whoa, I don't think I would trade places with any of you. I'm like, why am I taking advice from you? It's like your kids don't know you. Your wife doesn't like you. You can't see your abs because you got a massive gut. You don't know God. All you got is a couple extra zeros in your bank account. That's not happy hustling to me. That just wasn't what my version of success. So for me, I restarted my journey with this new notion of, okay, what does success actually look like to me? And I just mapped it out like day by day, week by week, month by month. And then I reverse engineered how to get there. And so that's what happy hustling is all about, is having a clear goal, having ambition, both personally and professionally. And I know, it's the end of the year is coming up, and I recommend just people create literally 2 goals. That's it. One personal and one professional. If you do nothing else this next year, just do those damn things. And don't even worry about the goal. Then set a habit that will actually help you achieve that goal. So if you're like, I want to write my new book and be a New York Times bestseller. Okay, well, the habit would be get up 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and write every morning until you have it finished by this pub date, right? So it's the habit that creates the actual, reality that you seek. And so happy hustling to me is all about being intentional in that area, with our time, our energy, our focus, our love, and that's what it's all about.
So I want to go a little deeper into how did you create this dramatic shift in the person you are today and how you view the world and the decisions that you make. And I want to just anchor for a second that, when you know who you are, then every decision leads through that. And at one point in time, I feel like, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but you maybe were not connected to who you are today. I see this photograph of you in a suit and your white shirt and this clean shaven face and you're looking all good and suave. And then I see the guy I'm talking to today and he's got this full beard and a gun on his hip and he's living in Montana, and just a completely different experience of these two people, yet same soul. And so you're living in New York, you are sharing a king bed with your brother, you're building a business, you finally land the 7-figure investment into your business, and you feel out of integrity and you realize, I'm living the wrong life. And so you end up going to Thailand for 10 months. During that 10-month hiatus, that going inward, you obviously found you. And to anchor for the benefit of our audience, I think that all of our experiences prepare us for who we get to become. And your experience was to feel disempowered, to feel like that was the way to hustle and grind. And then you eventually find yourself, and now you're helping all these people. You just said yesterday, 3 conversations with highly successful entrepreneurs saying, hey man, here's how I found myself. Here's ways you could do it too. What was that journey in Bangkok that supported you in healing? What routines did you pick up? What shifts did you create that if somebody is listening to this right now and we are going into the end of the year and the beginning of a new year, that if we could start to adopt some of these could support us in creating those shifts without having to disappear for 10 months to find ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, over there, I just started making my first dollars online I had like this penthouse apartment for like $400 a month, eating like a king for like $5 a meal, and just really this currency arbitrage that takes place when you travel. If you have, US dollars and you're spending in Thai baht, money goes a long way. And then I realized how happy these kids and their families who were playing soccer on the street with like a little ball of trash. They call Thailand the land of the smiles, right? And for good reason. The energy there is just different, and when you travel, when you get out, of your bubble, especially in America, like I lived in Spain for a while, I lived in Brazil for a while. I got to travel around these different parts of the world. That shifts your perspective. And so it shifted my perspective, one. Two, I realized, I could work from anywhere and still make money. And, three, I was acting and modeling over there. I had just like an agent. So I was like the token white guy with a big mustache and, it was getting jobs. So I was doing like kind of fun stuff, but still getting paid. So I was like, oh, well, this is cool. Like I can make money doing this and online. And I just like, it shifted my paradigm, man. I was like, damn, you don't have to do it this way. You could do it your way. And shit, fast forward, I get paid to go camping, man. I would do that for free. Don't tell any of our clients, but it's like, I feel blessed. And it's like anyone out there listening, you got to redefine what, again, you want. What do you want? What do you want to be doing? What do you want to be feeling when you're doing it? And who do you want to be serving? I go back to, Brand Builders Group. And Rory, our mutual friend, I know we talked about BBG a little bit, but they have these 4 questions. And I love to shout them out because they can really help be that true north, that guiding beacon of light for anyone out there listening. So the first question is, what problem do you solve in one word, right? And you got to have one word clarity. That's the hard part, right? Who exactly do you solve it for is the second question, right? Like exactly, who is that perfect person? And then you want to magnetize that person and then repel anyone else who's not that person, right? Third is, what is your uniqueness in solving that problem? And who exactly, or what is your uniqueness in solving that problem? And how do you exploit that in the service of others, right? So like, what's unique about what you're doing to solve that problem? And then the fourth question is, what is your primary revenue stream in solving the problem, right? So those 4 questions helped guide me. They still help guide me. They help keep me on the path, right? And for anyone out there listening, I would just, challenge them to answer those questions and see, what you come up with.
I love that. If anybody goes back and re-listens to this episode based on this question, to keep me honest here, in every answer, I think literally in every answer, you have touched on serving others, creating impact, and leaving the world essentially better than you found it. And so that is obviously a very, very big part of the happy hustle mentality that you have, that we can create tremendous success. We can be happy while we're doing it. We can have a rounded life, but that it really is grounded in leaving and or creating impact for people. What do you think is missing in so many people today that are out there just hustling, men and women alike, that are out there hustling, that if they could turn what they're doing today to be more into service, that they would create greater levels of joy and fulfillment and freedom?
Tony Robbins has a quote that really struck me. He says, "The secret to living is giving." That's how I do my best day in and day out to live my life. And I am driven by that because selfless service is actually quite selfish, because you feel so damn good when you give without the law of reciprocity top of mind. And so I always, urge those who are feeling a little bit stressed or full of anxiety or overwhelm or so in their little world right now to do 2 things. 1, get outside and go look at the stars. That'll put you in perspective real quick, like how small you are. I love doing it out here in Montana in the backcountry wilderness because there's no, light pollution. So depending on where you are, you might not even be able to see the damn stars, and that's a problem. But that's the first thing I recommend. Get some perspective. Go look outside at the stars, right? Second thing, who can you help today? What can you do to serve others? We have this acronym. We got a lot of acronyms. I went like IP heavy on my book, and all the other things were like acronyms on top of acronyms. And this was before ChatGPT and AI could just spit out acronyms. This was like 3 weeks in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Like, oh yeah, that adjective fits. Yeah, here we go. So I like this acronym. It's GIFT, give, insight, finances, and time. And I just focus on doing one of those things every single day. Give, insight, finances, and time.
We have a number of times, you and I spoken where one of us has said that we're so aligned and we have similar viewpoints. And I want you to keep going on the train you're on, but I want to go a little deeper for the benefit of our audience, because I believe that you can only pour from a full cup. You can only give what you have to give. When somebody is mean or selfish or greedy or I dare say misguided, it's because they feel like something is missing. You have a worldview on the word enough. You speak into enough. And you spoke about in the beginning of the episode today that people suffer from the disease of more, like they want more money, more this, more that, and it's never going to be enough. I speak into wholeness, and I think that that's where we really are bridged, and different words, same meaning in that. Well, I don't want to give you mine. I would love to know if you could speak into the audience of the value and the importance of understanding that we are already enough.
Yeah, I believe the more disease infects us all in some capacity, and the cure is practicing an attitude of gratitude daily and exercising the power of contentment. That's the remedy, my friends. Being grateful for everything you have and everything you don't. Oh man, I got 10 fingers? Heck yeah, that's awesome, right? Like, I don't have an incurable disease right now? Heck yeah, that's awesome. Like, we all have things that we can be grateful for. So I journal them every single day, 5 to 10 things, just stream of consciousness every morning, right? And that starts out my practice of attitude of gratitude. And then exercising the power of contentment, right? Dan Sullivan, strategic coach, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he has this concept like you will constantly be unhappy and unfulfilled if you are measuring yourself forward against a never-ending goalpost. Like, we constantly move it. As entrepreneurs and high performers, we're like, oh, I got the promotion. Now the next one. I got the award as an entrepreneur. Now the next one. Oh, I hit this revenue goal. Now the next one. And he says, in order to really, truly live in that blissful state and exercise the power of contentment, my words, but, just rephrasing, you have to measure yourself backwards against how far you've come. And Rudi, I know you come from humble roots, as do I. Plenty of drama, childhood wounds, adversities, shit. I don't want to get into too many of mine, but I got a laundry list of bad decisions just littered throughout my journey. And I'm like, dang, I could be in jail right now. I was in jail, but I could be back in jail or prison or dead from making all these bad choices. And I'm here instead. Dang. That's epic. I'm content with that, but I'm still ambitious, right, on the goal and the mission to serve. But again, living from that state, that's my version of what you described, wholeness.
I am reminded in this moment of a post that I'd recently seen of Jelly Roll and the transformation that he's gone through. And he was recently given this incredible accolade. And instead of just receiving the accolade and saying, I'm awesome, I'm great, look at what I've done, he said something to the effect of, we should really be creating these journeys for people that were lost back to themselves. Because, at one point in time, this is where he was. He was in jail. He had this life. This is what he was doing. This is where his life was going. And now look at what he's done. And he's turning around and he's teaching, inspiring. And that we have so much judgment to someone when they say, oh, yeah, I was in jail, or I did this wrong, or instead of looking at all of what they've gained and supporting people to get to where he is clearly now living in his purpose and in his passion. I have had the honor and the privilege of being invited to attend one of your events. You have an incredible Happy Hustle community where you've brought these unbelievably successful men in who have, by every measure of, external society's, form of success, achieved it. Check, 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 check. And yet they've come to you because they're trying to create that happiness while building. And it was beautiful to be in the space. It was beautiful to see some of the powerhouse people that you rub shoulders with and the people you bring in to create impact. I love that your demeanor is never about, hey, check me out, look how awesome I am, while I pat myself on the back. It's always an opportunity for the men to see themselves through what is your story. You use terminology like, I'm not the guru. You said it today that I'm purely the reporter. I'm sharing information. Take what works for you. Here's what does work. Here's what my community does. You build these masterminds where you bring like-minded men together which I remind you, if you are listening to this, the value and the importance of you doing this is most leaders, when they go up the scales, whether it's in corporate America or in their own company, the higher up you go, the more responsibility you have, the less people that you can confide in, because you have this pressure that tells you need to know and be and do everything. Whereas in these spaces, there's so much vulnerability, there's so much camaraderie, there's so much likeness between each other where people are supporting each other. I don't know if I've seen a community of people sharing amongst each other more. I remember a moment where someone had shared something and 4 or 5 guys had posted into the chat saying, hey man, give me a call after this. I can help you. I can hook you up. I can connect you. And it really does feel like a profound brotherhood that you've been able to create. I would love for you to speak into, for the benefit of any man that is listening to this, that is feeling the calling to find more joy, happiness in their life, and they just really resonate with you. And they want to have that moment of pause to look up at the stars. You talk about soul mapping as part of the foundation of your Happy Hustle in your book. You've given the frameworks. I would love for you to speak into a little bit of like your soul mapping philosophy in your programs, what people gain, what's the value in it. Shamelessly, man, give yourself an incredible plug for the incredible work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you, bro. Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on something that I just want to echo real quick. As you ascend in life as a high performer in any capacity, your circle of who you can confide in shrinks, right? And it becomes lonely. And it becomes overwhelming at times, the weight. And if you don't have a trusted community of people who inspire you, who you respect, who you can be raw and real and vulnerable with, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing your clients, your business, your colleagues a disservice, in my opinion. And so I've been running mastermind communities for over a decade in my various different businesses. And this one just hits different, man. It really does. Again, it's not me. It's this amazing collection of individuals that form the foundation. And then we have a really good bullshit meter. We weed out the guys who don't fit real quick. We have that as a part of our Happy Hustle Club values, reciprocal respect, outgoing optimism, and inspirational integrity. Guy was attempting to mess around on his wife at one of our ski masterminds last year. He got the boot, lost his investment. You didn't practice inspirational integrity, bro. You're fucking out. Like, we're no saints. We're all got our shit, but you crossed the line, So we hold each other accountable, right? And we keep the standard high. And that's what I love about our guys. They really care about each other. They really are there to serve. They're not in this like transaction mode that largely you feel when you're at any networking event, any conference, any business, gathering, you're like, okay, this person's literally just asking me, what do I do? And what can they get from me? Like, that's just the standard. Like we avoid all that. We focus on transformation. We start with the man. We start with what's really going on. And we focus on the number one personal adversity. And then we get into the number one professional adversity. Like we hit both. And that's what is different about our stuff is like, we know our, like, guys talk about it openly and honestly. One guy just yesterday was like, yeah, I'm 3.7 million in debt right now. One guy was just like, yeah, my wife just stepped out on me. She's relapsed on the affair with another guy. Like, damn, this is some hard stuff. We talk about it. This is like, where else are you going to talk about it? You got to put your armor on as the CEO or the, founder of your company. But like, where are you going to really talk about this stuff with a trusted group of men that like will be there for you? And so that's what we've created. And, we don't just sit around and cry kumbaya. We get after it. We do fun stuff in the process. And we have epic ski mastermind, a camping, we call it the Montana Mastermind, epic camping adventure where we go in the wilderness for 5 days, hike in 10 plus miles, teach survival skills and fly fishing. And my cowboy buddies pack in a bunch of horses. So we got a professional backcountry chef. So we're eating good, but we're doing breath work and meditation and journaling and visioneering and all that stuff when we're out there, which you definitely got to come this summer, Rudi. It's like I hear the term, and I don't toot our horn here, but I hear the term life-changing from 9 out of 10 guys. Like literally, they say this changed my entire trajectory. Because first of all, there's no phones. There's no service. There's no laptops. We take your phone. You don't even have a screen for 5 days. When have you had that, Rudi? When's the last time you went 5 days without a phone? Probably never.
It has been a very, very, very long time. Very long time.
Maybe before you had it, right? Same like that. These are like, I look forward to these times more than anything, but like the digital detox is so important. And it's a secret sauce in our masterminds because like you've been at a dinner with somebody who their phone's buzzing and they're like checking it and they're not there. They're not present. Like I would venture to say the majority of people aren't present in any given conversation. That's why I love conversations with you, Rudi, because you're fucking all in. You're present, man. You're locked in. That's a superpower of yours, bro. And you could feel it. And when people are locked in and present, that's where the magic happens, And so we take phones away. We take, we service away in our masterminds. We go to Alaska for the graduation of the Montana one. We do a couples one so you can bring your spouse into the fold. We do a health optimization one. So we have these different themed ones, but they all center around nature, digitally detoxing, mixing business with pleasure, and being raw and real, and so that's kind of what the community's been built on. And yeah, fast forward, it's been like such a beautiful gift for me every single day to have, just to be able to hold space and to have a group of, I know the term gets thrown around a lot, but brothers, truly, like who ride or dies. Like I got a guy for pretty much everything, Rudi. And that's pretty cool. Like it's like, I got a guy, you need a website guy? Oh, okay. You need a guy to bury a body? Oh, okay. I got a guy for that. Oh, you need a guy who could, talk about supplements? Oh, okay. Like what do you need? I got a guy. Right. And that's been so damn cool and profound. But to share a little bit about the soul mapping, that's the framework that we operate around, right? This is your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. So there is a method to the madness. We don't just, again, sit around and talk about all our problems and then don't have solutions. So we have, these 10 different areas of life. I'm happy to dive in if you'd like me to, Rudi. I don't want to bore the audience, but you tell me where you want to go.
I think that there couldn't possibly be a person bored at this point of our conversation because of who you are and how you show up. And so I would love for you, just as impactfully as you can, give people the framework of soul mapping. I know that they have access to your book and your website. I'm going to absolutely link it into the show notes with all of what you have to offer because I want everybody to get a piece of you. But I want to just ground here for a second as you go into this, that you are one of the most intelligent people that I know. And we've only known each other in a short amount of time. And in every conversation, your ability to break something down and to make it simple and simplistic and relatable is really, really powerful. And people need acronyms, they need steps, they need to know I'm here, I need to get there. And yet you somehow manage to fit that into every single conversation that you have. Now, I've seen you in different contexts. I've seen you as the interviewer. I've seen you as the interviewee. I've seen you as the guy hosting the mastermind or the group. I've seen you just as the guy on the phone shooting shit. But in every one of these, you maintain that ability to be able to take a really important conversation and break it down. And I think that is a skill set that is missing in a lot of people, because we've been lied to, brainwashed, misled, misguided. Society's built a system around we need to hustle, grind, and outperform and achieve a certain level of something. And yet, your life, as every single person I bring onto this show, I want to exploit that when we listen to the inner knowing inside of us, we're always met with more success. You're arguably more successful today on every single metric, every single measure, not just not having to share a bed with your brother anymore, like every measure, because you followed that inner calling, and you're only ever going to continue to grow more. And so I would love for you to help somebody who's on the fence of either reaching out to you or on the fence of grabbing your book, which you currently have listed for free, and help them see what's in it for them. I think that that's such an important part of human behavior. We only do something if we know what's in it for us. And I'm going to tell you now, you're going to be a happier version of you, whether you spend time with him or whether you just learn from him. And it's so beautifully broken out in soul mapping. And I love the slang, mapping, not mapping, as I would say with my accent.
Yeah, you got a great accent. I'm jealous. I mean, the soul mapping, I'll hit this quick and then, I'll piggyback on what you stated. So what I realized, taking it way back when I was burnt out, is that I was struggling in key areas of my life. And so I had to scratch my own itch to figure out, okay, what are those key areas that I'm missing the mark in? Because what you measure, you can manage. That old adage. And awareness is the first step. So I'm going to run through it quick. I urge everyone to be a active listener here. Like if you're driving, maybe, pull over, or if you're on the treadmill, don't trip, but like take notes and just give yourself a score in each of these 10 areas. I'm going to ask 10 different questions. And just give yourself a quick score. And the rubric, this is what we do with all of our guys. This is what we do in all of our systems. This is what I take my own medicine every Sunday, bro. I do this just to know where my past week was. But I just want everyone out there to get like real value from this and just identify where they are lacking in the 10 different alignments of being a happy hustler right now. Is that cool if I run them through it? Okay. And Rudi, I'm curious if you want to do it too, man. Let's get to the chase and see where you may be lacking. Okay. So here we go. The rubric. I wasn't much for school, but I do know the grading scale. 5 is like an A, you're crushing it. 4 is like a B, you're doing good, but could be better. 3 is like a C, slacking, need to step it up. 2 is like, a D, really struggling. And 1 is like massively failing, need to prioritize change ASAP. Okay, so give yourself a 1 through 5 in each of these 10 different alignments. And this is the soul mapping system. Again, your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. S stands for selfless service. Now, just think in the last 30 days, where would you rank yourself in terms of actually selflessly serving others, giving your insight, your finances, and your time? Okay. You got a score?
I mean, I have a score right up front.
Okay. We're going to tally these up at the end, people. So make sure you know basic addition. All right. The second, optimized health. Okay. Where would you give yourself a ranking in optimized health? Are you mentally, physically, emotionally optimized right now in the last 30 days? Where would you rank 1 to 5? Okay. You unplug digitally. This is one that many frameworks leave out, but it largely dictates joy. Where would you rank in the last 30 days in terms of your ability to disconnect and create barriers? Or are you low-key addicted to your phone and caught in the death scroll and, maybe not unplugging digitally, right? Give yourself a score, 1 to 5. L, loving relationships. Last 30 days, plentiful pleasure with your partner in your inner circle. Maybe there's angst, despair. Give yourself a score. So that's the soul part. So you should all have 4 scores right now if you're playing along with us here. Now, let's get into the mapping part. So this is M, mindful spirituality. Again, I think it's important to have faith in something bigger than yourself. Where would you rank your connection to a higher power right now in the last 30 days? Mindful spirituality, 1 to 5. A, abundance financially. Ooh, I know. Give yourself a score. Do you have a system to save, invest, and spend wisely? Or are you kind of living paycheck to paycheck in fear of your finances? First P, personal development. Are you growing and evolving every single day, or are you shrinking and dissolving? Those are the choices, right? So give yourself a score. And I like to focus on the 30-30-30 method for guaranteed growth. I have happy hustle hacks for each of these remedies, inside the book in our frameworks. So if you want to go deeper, but one I really think everyone should kind of, I don't want to say should, but could adopt is just the 30-30-30 method for guaranteed growth. 30 minutes of reading in the morning, 30 minutes of listening in the afternoon, and 30 minutes of watching in the evening. It hits the brain center differently when you acquire knowledge in those different capacities. And you do that 5 days a week, you are going to be growing, my friend, and make it all related to your goals, inspirational and educational content. So give yourself a score for that one. Second P, passionate hobbies. And this is one I find a lot of high performers lacking, Rudi. That is, are you doing fun things for yourself? Like, do you have hobbies? Or maybe not so much. Are you just working and giving to your family and not really giving to yourself? Impactful work. And I'll just say this, like when I'm fly fishing or bow hunting or doing martial arts or soccer, like that's where a lot of my ideas happen, when I'm away from my business, right? So you got to create that space for that creativity, right? So just a little pro tip there. Don't sleep on that one. Impactful work. Again, the 3 Ps, passion, purpose, and positive impact. Are you in alignment right now with your work, or maybe not so much in the last 30 days? How much impact do you feel? And then bringing it home with nature connection. Are you actually getting outside, connecting to this beautiful planet? And oh, by the way, are you helping be a part of the solution and protecting it? Right? My brother runs a company, shout out to him, called Eco Breakthroughs, and I'm sit on the board of it. And I mean, he will change the world. I mark my words. Like he's like the Elon Musk of the sustainability world, UN speaker, just top in his field at selling sustainability to corporate giants to become more, ethical in their practices. And man, we all have to be a part of the solution when it comes to protecting this planet for our children and their children. So I'm a big proponent of that. And nature connection is very, very important. So give yourself a score there. So you should have 10 scores, people. Rudi, tally them up. If you are a 40 or above for the last 30 days, congratulations. You are happy hustling, my friend. If you're a 39 or below, well, then we got a little work to do. So this is the basic assessment. We have it on the website, thehappyhustle.com/assessment. It's free. You can take it, on autopilot and just repeat it. But this is like the secret sauce that's not so secret. It's stupid simple. None of our shit's rocket science, you can tell. It's just like being aware and being intentional. So Rudi, I got to ask, where did you land? What was your high score? What was your lowest score? And what was your total score?
Okay, so highest score was selfless service, for sure, because my mantra is give selflessly of yourself every day in every single way. Like you've got to create impact. My lowest score was in abundance financially, but I want to explain why. And so I actually scored myself there at a 2, but it was because I caught myself in the month of December thinking in lack of abundance and not living in abundance. And I mean financially, right? Not like abundance of love and joy and time. Like I got caught up in the, this is this and this is going to do this and what about this? And so I actually was super for the first 2 weeks tightly wound in that. And so when I got to that question, I put another number in and I was like, oh, that's not accurate. And so I actually dropped that number down. So that was my lowest score. My total was 38. So I have work to do out of 50. And so it's been a very interesting month for me. I love this. My wife and I ask the question every single week of each other. there's two questions. It's like, how could I be better this week? Like, how was I and how could I be better, this week coming? And we ask that of each other so that we're asking of ourselves and then we're getting external feedback for the same question. And the answers are often different, right? You like, yeah, I was awesome. And she's like, yeah, not so much. And so it's real-time feedback, but it keeps you active and present. I love that you're doing this and I knew you were going to ask the answer it this way, based on your book, but I love this because it keeps all these areas top of mind. I'm really good, as you had said, and I want to say thank you, of being present in the moment, because I wasn't always that way. And so it's very intentional. Like when my daughter walks into the room and she says, "Daddy, daddy, daddy," and I love it the way a 10-year-old girl calls me daddy, daddy. And it's like, I would catch myself still being immersed in what I was doing on my phone or my computer. Now, when I hear that, the phone goes down. I don't care where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm talking to, and it's eye contact. And it's until she's done. And it's like, I posted on social media this morning, my daughter left me a love note. And it's a little note that says, "Dear Daddy, I love you so much. Love, live." And with a little heart drawn and on my laptop screen. And it's like, man, that's presence right there. That's, detaching from your phone. And we don't all have the flexibility of creating 5 days of being away from our phone every day. But can we create that for 5 minutes when we need it? Can we create that for 5 hours? Can we create those pockets of time and space? And it's only when you're intentional about your day, about your time, that you create these changes. And I want to anchor something I've said 3 times today for the benefit of the audience. Man, you have to know who you are if you want to stand a chance of living your greatest potential. Cary, you know who the hell you are. You are not trying to impress anybody. You're showing up as you, and you're giving so many people permission to be able to do the same. I want to just take a second to acknowledge that. I want to take a second to honor you. I want to take a second to say thank you for pouring into the InPowered Life community and reminding people that we have the power within us to have and to be and to do and to achieve. But it only comes when you know who you are, and then you actually create a number of systematic steps for you to hold yourself accountable and to create shifts and to put yourself into right rooms and to do things that you haven't done to get results that you've never achieved. I just want to say I appreciate you so, so, so much for being who you are. I have a lasting parting question for you. I'm somebody who believes that we are connected to the force that created us. There is a divinity that is flowing to us and through us. There is an intelligence that we can tap into that knows everything that ever was, is, and will ever be. I would love for you right now to take in a really deep breath, pause for a second, and then I want you to share with our audience what is coming through for you right now that you feel we most all need to know.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, not just blowing smoke, brother, but what a stud you are and how blessed your audience is to be listening to you on the regular. So that's the damn truth. I'm like, dang, Rudi is the freaking man, just a real happy hustler through and through. And so I just want to, echo the sentiment right back at you. Like, that's what's coming through to me, honestly, is like, dang, I love this dude, So I'm just grateful to know you, to collaborate with you, to see you in Montana soon. I know you might move here after our
summer. I'm working it in the summer.
Yeah, so I hope we're neighbors soon, man. So yeah, that's what's coming through for me is just immense gratitude for everyone out there spending their most precious commodity with us. 2 dudes riffing on a podcast right now, but I mean, that is our most important resource, our time. And so you giving it to me giving it to you, and everyone giving it to the space to become better versions of ourselves and listen to this podcast. I just want to honor everybody with immense gratitude and love. So that's what's coming through, brother.
Well, I appreciate you and all of your words and wisdom. And above anything, I appreciate your time. To our audience, you've invested essentially an hour into learning and growing through somebody else's journey. But all of this was done in servitude of you, the individual. And my challenge for you is to walk away, not today, with just 10 questions that you should ask yourself every single Sunday so that you can be accountable to your highest and greatest potential, but to ask, what could you learn from Cary's journey? How could you show up today more humble, more whole, more healed, and more in line and in tune with who it is that you most aspire to be every single day, so that you can wake up one day and turn around and teach it and impact and share and inspire other people, whether it's in your company, whether it's in your community, whether it's with your family, so that the world gets to learn from the light that you emit every single day in every single way. I love you guys so very much, and I'll catch you in the next episode of the Empowered Life Podcast. Till then, goodbye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. And we would love your support in leaving us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to check the show notes for more information on how you can find us online and on Instagram. Now go create an amazing day for yourself, and we'll see you again soon.